everyone, Emer here with another Mission Impossible episode review. This time I am reviewing Season 3, Episode 22, which is called Nicole. So we start with Jim cruising over to yet another very dingy building. I don't know why there are so many of these dingy buildings where he gets instructions this season. Anyway, the mission is to get a list of double agents, which is being held by enemy information minister Anton Valdas, which is critical to U.S. intelligence. This time the team consists of just Jim and Rollin. They discuss their plans with another agent codenamed Sparrow. Sparrow shows them a plan of Valdas's chateau and the location of the safe within the chateau, and also tells them that there is another agent in Valdas's employ named Nicole Vedette, hence the name of the episode, who can help them if needed. But Jim says no need to blow her cover or risk her cover. Jim says the two of them can handle it. So Jim and Rollin attend a party at the chateau as army officials. Jim is a younger major, and Rollin is a cantankerous, dirty old man general. Jim shares a look with Nicole at the party, and, well, you figure it out. Valdas tells an official that he intends to hand over the list to the premier of his country when the premier returns from the tour he's on, and has installed a special pressure sensor in his safe to protect the list until then. The next several minutes are spent with Jim and Nicole making eyes at each other across the room while Rollin hits on some pretty young things. Eventually they chat and start flirting, and they have a dance with Valdas watching very carefully. He tells Jim to attend to the general, who appears to be very drunk, breaking them up, and tells Nicole he's a bit disappointed that she's slumming with the major. Jim takes Rollin upstairs to a room to sober up, but of course as soon as they're in the clear, Jim leaves Rollin and heads back to the party and Nicole. Rollin is able to chloroform the guard and get into Valdas's study, cracking the safe and grabbing the list, but of course that sets off the alarm. Trying to escape, Rollin finds himself trapped by bars at the study door. As soldiers arrive to check things out, Rollin shuts the door. Jim joins them and holds Valdas at gunpoint, forcing the guards to give up their weapons. Jim and Rollin continue to hold Valdas to cover their escape. Nicole watches Jim somewhat sadly from the stairs as he continues to hold Valdas while Rollin gets the getaway car. Valdas's aide, Razov, quietly pulls out a pistol and shoots Jim before he can get out the door, forcing Rollin to drive away by himself. The party's over, and Jim wakes in his cell, seeing Nicole coming down the stairs. She knocks out the guard and frees Jim, telling him that she's an agent, but he says he already knows that. Valdas finds him and locks them both in the cell. Nicole tells Valdas he's being dumb, wasting his time with them when he'll suffer the consequences for losing the list. But Valdas seems very unperturbed by that and says he's suspected Nicole of being a double agent for some time. Nicole tells Jim she had seen the list and she would have helped him, but Jim says he wanted to try and maintain her cover. However, he realizes that since Valdas suspected Nicole was a double agent, the list is likely a fake. Nicole tells Jim that Sparrow is a double agent as well, in her opinion, so Valdas knew they were coming. Rollin hands the list over to Sparrow and says he's going back for Jim instead of escaping. Jim fakes dying, allowing he and Nicole to overpower the guard and get out through a window. Wonderful television time is spent watching them run through the forest, and eventually the guards form a search party with bloodhounds. Rollin watches the chateau unseen from a distance. Nicole tells Jim they're only about 10 kilometers from the border, but Jim is flagging and not sure he can make it. They find an abandoned barn and hide out in the hayloft with the guards closing in. They somehow manage to evade detection, but Jim falls unconscious. Nicole heads out of the barn and approaches a car which gives a signal. It's Valdas. Nicole tells him that Jim's inside, and Valdas sends a doctor in to revive him as part of their elaborate plan, telling Nicole that she's done very well, and applauds her for finding a way out of the spy business by using Jim. Nicole reminds him that she has enough information on him hidden to put him away, so he better not follow her when she leaves. Nicole returns as Jim wakes up, and Valdas confirms with Razov that arrangements have been made at the border for Nicole to be shot accidentally. Jim tells her to check that the coast is clear, and Jim finds a matchbook in her purse. It feels kind of weird. He finds a bug, but reveals nothing when she returns. Rollin overpowers one of the patrollers and takes his weapon and radio as Jim and Nicole continue their dash for the border, with Jim weakening and falling. Nicole breaks down and tells him that Valdas is behind everything. He wants Jim to get to the border and get out. It's all part of his plan to convince the Americans that the list is false, but it's actually accurate, and Nicole's name is on it. She says she's sorry for not being honest with Jim before and tells him to rest because he can go on at his leisure whenever he's ready. He's in no danger. And she says that Valdas doesn't know that she's telling him this. Jim realizes that she doesn't know about the bug and shows it to her. Valdas tells the men to stop pretending to chase him and hunt them down for real, and Nicole seems relieved that it wasn't all a game from Jim's side either. Rollin hears the instructions on the guard's radio and follows along. Eventually, Jim and Nicole are cornered by the guards, and Nicole offers her blackmail information in exchange for Jim's life. But Valdas says he knows where it is anyway, so no deal. Fortunately, Rollin turns out to be one of the guards accompanying Valdas and comes to the rescue, but not before Valdas is able to fatally shoot Nicole. Rollin kills Valdas, the rest of the men flee, as Jim sadly cradles Nicole for a few moments before Rollin tells him they need to get going, with Jim glumly agreeing and going on the ride away from him. Mission accomplished, I guess. This is a difficult one for me to grade. This is going to be one of those where I have an idea for a grade in my mind, but I feel like I kind of want to talk it out a little bit, just to kind of make sure that I'm right. When I first went through these episodes and kind of tried to assign them kind of a skeleton grade, what I wrote about this episode is I compared it to The Spy from season 2. And I said basically, well, essentially it's the same basic story at certain levels. But what you've done is you've replaced Kate Woodville with Joan Collins. And I said that Joan Collins is worth the price of admission all by herself. So by that standard, I said, well, this is a better episode than The Spy. I'm seriously rethinking that. I started rethinking it before I started watching this episode, saying, no, I think I'm probably off base here. And I believe that I'm right, but maybe not for the reasons that I originally thought. What I see when I look at this episode and I think about it, first of all, I don't dislike it as much as I thought I would. I really thought I would give it a low grade because I remembered a lot of bad things about it, which turned out to be correct, and I'll mention those. The big thing that I take away from this episode is that there is a huge amount of untapped potential here. There could really be something to this episode. You have characters in Valdas and Nicole who are decent enough characters. Where the flaw really comes to the fore is that it seems that the writers couldn't decide which direction they wanted to go with these characters. And so what they do is they do what I guess what I might refer to, again, I'll use a wrestling term called 50-50 booking, where, to use a specific example, Valdas is obviously a smart guy. He's competent enough to try and pull off this ploy of using Nicole to establish, or try to establish, to American intelligence that the list of double agents he has is false, is a fake, when it is actually true. The problem there is that, at some points, Valdas is super competent, right? He Nicole does something, he knows all about it. She has this blackmail information. Oh, well, I know where that is. Nicole tries this. I knew you would do that. And he's kind of alternating between being this super competent guy who knows so much and then a moron who just can't predict that, oh my gosh, I can't believe that Nicole is actually falling for this guy and is actually willing to protect him. He's just kind of back and forth where, he's awesome and then he's an idiot. And then he's awesome and then he's an idiot. Same deal with Nicole. Going through this episode, I'm really so all over the place. How are we supposed to feel about this character? In the beginning, we obviously that Jim has feelings for her. The whole romance thing, it doesn't work. But the reason it doesn't work is because, we're just not sure where Nicole stands, and that's not so bad in and of itself. But we go from really rooting for Nicole to like, oh my gosh, she's really working for him, right? And she's got her own agenda, to, oh no, wait a minute, she really loves Jim and she's willing to sacrifice her information for him. And again, it's this the whole thing is just neither here nor there. The characters, the plot, the story, it seems to be neither fish nor fowl. Especially with the way that Nicole acts towards the end, when she realizes that Valdas knows what's going on and is probably intending to off her at the border. She certainly would realize that by the time Jim shows her the bug that Valdas planted on her. It reminds me of a few episodes ago of Live Bait, and I talked about this at length, about how the character in that episode, Stephanie, just all of a sudden, without really establishing a proper foundation for it, just turns on her boyfriend. And here it's the opposite turn. We have Nicole suddenly, supporting Jim and being, kind of a sympathetic character. Again, can you really understand fully the whole logic behind it? Does it really make sense to you? It seems to me like the same kind of thing, that whatever explanation you can give me for that, it's unsatisfactory. I won't like it. And I really don't want to waste a lot of brain power trying to think it through, to be very honest with you, because wherever it's going to take me, it's going to bother me rather than, satisfy my thought process. Anyway, you can categorize everything I've just said under the bad, the weird, the it doesn't work. Just to kind of lay it out, what's bad. There is the whole I know, I know, and I knew you knew, I know you would do that, and I knew you knew, I knew I would do that. That just is so grating. It doesn't work as a plot device. It really gets old quickly, and it doesn't help the episode. I don't like the fact that what I recalled before watching this episode again was that Rollin at the end, coming and saving Jim and trying to save Nicole, was basically just a Deus Ex Machina. Just, he comes out of nowhere. And obviously on rewatch, I realized that no, that's not the case. Rollin went back specifically. We see him watching the guards go out for the chase, and we see him along the way. So it's actually the opposite of that. Here we actually, it's telegraphed from about 30 minutes in. Oh well, Rollin's here and he's going to save the day, and that doesn't help. Neither one is actually good. It doesn't help make the episode any better. The padding in this episode is bad. I seem to recall that there was a lot of time wasted at the party with Jim and Nicole just kind of like, watching each other from across the room. That actually wasn't so bad. It didn't take up as much time as I recall it doing. But the chase through the forest is really, really, really bad in terms of padding. It's obvious that the writers just had way too much time to fill, and they just filled it with that, to complete the hour. I just didn't care for that. In short, really, really, really untapped potential here. They could have done something, and I made a similar comment in the last review about Nitro, that, you know, I feel that there is something here. There could have been something here. But I don't know what it is, because the writers seem to have put so much effort into making nothing that I can't really put my finger on, oh, there's something that they could have really done something with. I really don't know what else to say about that. What I liked about the episode, I think that Joan Collins' performance was very good. I think Logan Ramsey as Valdas, I hate to say it because I'm sure he was wearing it for a reason, but the neck brace that he was wearing is a little bit bothersome, and I'm not sure whether it's supposed to be part of his costume or whether he really needed it for health reasons. It's a little bit jarring. I really don't know what to make of it, to be honest. That was a little bit troublesome for me. So, you know, the guest stars themselves, and when I said, you know, what I said earlier, which is that Joan Collins is worth the price of admission all by herself, I do agree with that. All in all, though, the episode is unsatisfying. One neat thing that I did notice, I'll mention it because, like I said, even in a bad episode, I do want to try and find something good. And that is that when Jim and Nicole are chatting for the first time at the party, they talk about their astrological signs, among other things. And interestingly, I looked it up. They actually use the correct ones. Peter Graves is a Pisces and Joan Collins is a Gemini. I'm like, oh, well, that's kind of neat. Almost as though, you know, I wonder whether maybe they came up with that just, you know, on the spot, maybe on the spur of the moment. Might have been ad-libbed for all we know. So that was kind of neat. Anyway, now that I've talked it out, I think I have to say that I'm going to give this episode overall a D. I was really leaning previously towards making it lower, like a D- or something like that. But, you know, to say that this was worse than some of the episodes that we've covered, to which I've given Ds, I wouldn't say that. I've rethought the fact, is this episode better than The Spy? No, I really don't think it is. I believe I gave The Spy a C or a C-, something like that. And I can't say that this episode is better from a plot standpoint. And I think that's where I'll leave it. Thank you as always for watching. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Please leave your comments. I'd love to hear your comments about this one because, you know, there's a lot here, you know, from different directions, and I'd love to hear people's different takes on it. I think that would be very valuable for an episode like this. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.